I had to learn the hard way a lot with Taylor. But I loved him, and I wanted to make that connection. And we did have a good relationship, but I always thought, I need to lean into him and not expect him to lean in towards me.
Which I think the leaning in came, but it was after I kind of wrestled with it on myself. And you were receptive to my responses, like, just tell me what I need to know initially.
Oh,
and
definitely.
then once I had a hiccup, then I would come back to lean on you. You weren't stuck in your ways, like, well, no, I will love him, and this is the way I loved Emily and Kelsey, so it has to be the same.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, I probably would have driven away. I'm like, all right, I'm done now.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Hey moms, welcome to Wire Talk. Today, we're in for a big treat. My son Taylor is in the studio with Emily and I, and we're going to be talking about him growing up in our family and what contributed to a healthy relationship with he and I, and now how we are as mother and son as an adults. So cannot wait to jump in, and I'm so excited.
Well, hello, Wire Talk family. We're so glad you joined us today for a very special episode. Speaking of family, we've got my little bro Taylor in the studio with us today.
Not so little, but.
Not so little. Little in age, and you'll always be my little brother. But you guys just recently, well, this is going to be aired in February. So in January, at the very beginning, Mom, you flew out to Arizona and drove cross country with Taylor from Arizona to Georgia. And I was like, let's do a Q&A. And so you guys did it, and fabulously, by the way.
Oh,
I was
thanks.
so proud of you because that's a lot of work to do. And the Wire Talk people and Instagram people just loved it. They had so many questions. They were like, oh my goodness. So we said, you know what? Let's make this an episode.
Let's do it.
Let's bring it in, get all the good nuggets, hear how it went, the great parts, the bad parts, what your favorite travel snacks were. So, but before we get into all the good nuggets and the questions, I wanted to know, because I know, but tell everybody, why did you fly out to Arizona? Taylor, why were you coming back from California? Give us a little bit insight to your life right now. What's going on?
So I just recently found out that I'm getting stationed to Key West, Florida,
Nice.
to VFC 111, which is an aggressor squadron down there. They're basically the bad guys who fight the good guys, which is us right now, to train if we have to go to war. And
In the Navy.
In the Navy.
Taylor's in the Navy.
Stationed in the Navy. So I was stationed in Lemoore, California, which is about an hour south of Fresno, if you know where that is. And then
Most people don't know where Lemoore, California
I guess it's about 3 hours east of LA, in the middle of the desert, agricultural capital of the world. And
True.
Found out we was going to Key West, and as things got closer, we found out we were pregnant with my wife, Sarah. We're having a baby girl. Her name will be Adeline Joyce Stubbs. We're super excited about that. She's due in March. But with that came a bunch of complications with the move. I first had to drive Sarah's car over across the country in December before Christmas. And then with the Teddy, and then she flew with Ace, our cat. And then
Teddy's your dog.
Teddy's our dog. He's a golden retriever, Swedish.
I didn't want everybody to think you're bringing a big teddy bear from California.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. That'd be
That
a
would be
little
funny.
strange, but
A
hey,
little
no
creepy.
judgment. And then come January, I was like, okay, well, now I have to figure out how am I going to get my truck across, which I was able to do it again by myself, but I wanted to
Not do it by
You wanted
yourself.
some
myself.
company.
Yeah. And so first I asked my dad, and then he said he couldn't because of his new flight syllabus with FedEx. But then I asked my mom, and she says, well, I could do it if you give me the dates. And I gave her the dates. And then
Well, I actually volunteered. You didn't ask me.
I thought I didn't ask you.
No, you were talking to Dad on the phone. Dad and I were in the car.
Oh.
And you said, Dad, can you do this? And Dad said, no, I'm going to be flying. And I said, I can do that, because I figured, you don't get much one-on-one alone time with your son after they get married, because, their wife's always there and all that. And I love Sarah, and she's amazing and wonderful. But I get a lot of one-on-one time with my girls
It's true.
without their husbands. But I just thought, well, this would be 3 days. We'd be in
Yeah.
the car, and we would have one-on-one time.
Yeah, it was a lot of one-on-one time, at least
And it
10
was-
hours a day.
And it was great weather the whole time.
Not
What kind of weather elements did you guys drive through? A
Well,
lot.
When I
everything.
picked up my mom in Phoenix, it was nice weather, a little chilly. I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and then
Yeah.
we drove to Flagstaff, and it was snowing already in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I was still in shorts, and I guarantee people were looking at me funny.
Yeah.
And then we woke up the next morning, and there was probably about 6 to 8 inches of snow on the ground.
Golly.
Grabbed,
it was coming down.
yeah, it was absolutely packed. But luckily, I had my truck, so I have 4-wheel drive. We were able to get through there, get breakfast, and hit the road. And for the first day, we hit probably about 4 to 5 hours of snow. First 2 hours and the last 3 hours. So definitely hit the inclement weather. And then on the way to from Amarillo, Texas to Memphis to see my dad. We had rain for about 6-7 hours.
Oh, I would say almost the whole way.
Yeah, it was bad.
There was only like an hour we didn't have rain.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
That big storm that came through in January.
Yeah.
We were literally in the middle of it.
Yeah.
We would
Just brought it
stop.
home.
Yeah, we would get out of it a little bit. We'd stop to go to the bathroom or get a drink, get gas, and then we'd get back on the highway. And Taylor goes, well, it caught up to us, so we're back in it. I mean, we were in it the whole way.
Golly.
And then it rained from Memphis to Georgia almost the whole way.
Yep. Luckily, we had my dad, so we had some more company.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, that's right. Because
We
y'all
picked him
Dad.
up in Memphis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
it's a good trip.
It
Really good
was.
trip.
We had a good time.
And on the other side, I have this huge map of the United States. So I drew a little navy blue truck, and me and my kids would use Find My Friends, and we'd track you across.
The United States.
You were tracking it along with all the Instagram people, and we were at my house. We're moving Uncle Taylor's truck across America, and the kids loved that.
We had a good time.
It was a great time.
So, well, just so you guys know, I'm going to ask the questions today, and I'm going to get y'all's input about what y'all said, y'all's relationship growing up from little baby Taylor, not baby Taylor, but, little Taylor to big Taylor, married Taylor. And I'm excited to see all of this. And
It's gonna be fun.
the moms really enjoyed it because I was reading one thing and it says, I know I'm going to be close with my girls growing up when they're older, but how do you foster that relationship where your son wants to be so close to you?
Mm.
And I think it is a unique relationship. And, most sons don't necessarily want their mom to come on a cross-country trip with them. So y'all do have a very sweet, special relationship.
We do.
As Taylor says, he is the favorite son.
He absolutely.
I think
Always
you
will be.
signed every single card with your favorite son.
Yep.
So, all right, well, let's dig in, and I'm ready to get going. You
Let's
ready?
do it. Let's
All
do
right.
it. I'm ready.
Question 1. Taylor, what is your earliest core memory of you and mom?
It took me a while to think about this initially on the road. I always have the memories from growing up as far as when I was in middle school and high school, because those were good learning and good teaching moments. But the earliest core memory was my mom dropping me off at preschool, because it was always a very hard time for me as I didn't want to be around people. And then always the excitement I saw seeing her pick me up, and that was really fun. Right here in downtown Cumming, and I have no idea what the name was, but that was probably my core memory of just getting dropped off. Her kind of giving me the pep talk of, "Hey, get out there, go do it," and then you got this, and then getting back and asking me how my day was.
So your core you don't even remember me dropping you off in preschool in Virginia?
No.
Isn't that something?
I don't remember that at all. I remember a birthday party that I had from my best friends at the time, and that was about it. But that wasn't really necessarily a core memory about you and I. It was more just a
That's
memory.
sweet.
Yeah.
So.
That's sweet. I was going to ask you what your earliest core memory would be, but it's probably the day Taylor was born.
Well,
I hope
yeah.
so.
You remember it all.
I
'cause you were
remember it
there.
all because I was an adult.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right.
Question 2. Mom, what qualities did Taylor have as a young boy that you've seen mature and serve him well that now he's an adult?
Oh, well, everybody knows Taylor's my blue. So he was always very sweet and very thoughtful and could be sensitive at times. And I've loved watching that thoughtfulness in his heart grow and mature as he's gotten older. And I see it. He's a big letter writer like your dad. And Kelsey even said this morning, I got the sweetest letter from Taylor the other day. And it was so sweet. And, she was telling me about it. And I love that. And I loved, like, whenever I started Birds on a Wire in the basement and y'all were all in the house, obviously. Taylor, what grade were you in? Like 5th, 6th?
2010, so probably, 7th grade, 6th grade.
No, this would have been earlier because.
This is like basement mom.
Before
basement.
it was founded. Probably 4th, 5th grade.
Yeah. So, like, if it was raining outside, he would go get umbrellas and walk the ladies up the driveway. And they all thought I told him to do that, which I didn't tell him to do that. He just saw a need and he did it. And I have loved watching that. And I love watching him with Sarah and how sweet he is. I tell her all the time, you don't realize how fortunate you are to have a husband that just says, yes, buy that. And I want you to feel special and I want to do this for you. And she's always like, I know. And she's so sweet. So that's one quality I've loved.
Mhm.
Taylor's always been very responsible as a blue. He always wants to do the right thing. And he's got a great work ethic. And I've loved watching that mature as he's gotten older. He doesn't run away from his responsibilities. He runs towards it, and I've loved that. So there's a lot of really great qualities. He is a red, his second color, and I've loved watching that leadership come out in him, and also his go-get-emness, and he likes to, he's got an entrepreneur spirit for sure. And I've loved watching that sort of develop and grow as he's gotten older.
Those are all great qualities.
Yeah.
For sure. So Taylor, reflecting on your teenage years, how did mom show you love during that time? And what gestures growing up in the teen tween meant the most to you?
Gestures.
What did she do that you're that really made me feel seen and loved?
I think initially it was just showing up and being present. My love language was quality time. Still is to this day. I don't care what we're doing, but as long as we're doing something together. And just the random trips, going somewhere, the grocery store visits. When I got older, I was doing golf in middle school. She would come to my matches, which were super boring and not the most fun to be at. However, you still stuck it out, and I appreciate that.
I walked many a golf course. I'll say
she
that.
did. Yep. And so showing up for events, that was one. And I think another thing was accepting me for my flaws. She started to see that I did have flaws. And as a blue, I know I have flaws because I try to strive for perfection, even though I know I can't. And so when my mom would probably try to pep me up and tell me hey, it's you're the best at this, you're best at this, I don't like that because I know I have flaws, so quit lying to me and telling me that. And I'd probably say that numerous times.
You literally said those words.
And now Emily or Kelsey or Abby may like that, pep talk, maybe they don't see their flaws or they're just not as aware of it as they are. To me, I know I have them. So just tell me what I need to know to fix it and move on. And you did a really good job about that of saying, hey, I know you have this flaw, but here's how you can overcome that. And I can then kind of have a goal of how to strive towards perfection. And then lastly, letting me have my space and freedom and not being needy. Honestly, it wasn't until about 2 months ago, I was like, I don't know why I don't like talking on the phone in these type of situations. And mom said, well, it's because you don't like people who are needy or to you. They just come to you and they want something. And whenever you gave me my space, but when I was younger and you would ask me all these questions, I thought it was needy. I'm like, I don't like that. But once you kind of let me have my space, I would come to you and I'd probably ask the exact same questions as you were going to ask initially. But doing that, giving me my space, I kind of came in naturally and the conversation flowed. And even I still do it this day. Whenever Sarah wants to talk to me about something and I'm like, if I get the hint of it being needy, I'm like, I just shut down, which is not wise. It's not something that I am happy about, but it is my flaw. And I recognize that. I'm like, oh, I need to work on that because, when you get married, it's not just you, it's you and your spouse.
That's right.
So definitely giving me my space. And now Sarah's kind of picked up on that. Okay, he just needs his time and then he'll open up. And I do.
She will call me and she'll be like, how do you handle Taylor whenever, he's had a hard day? And I'm like, you need to give him some space. And she goes, that's so hard for me because I want to just help him because Sarah has a very loving, helpful spirit and she wants to jump in.
Yeah.
But I have to say a lot of that was learned. And I want to tell the moms out there, don't think that I did everything right all the time because I absolutely did not. Yeah.
Taylor's like, nope.
Yeah. Taylor will tell you. But I had to learn. I can remember you sitting on the front porch. He was in high school playing golf. He just had a tournament and didn't do well. And I came out and I'm like, but Taylor, you usually do so good. And it was just that one day. And he said, Mom, I don't like it whenever you tell me all these good things. And I know that's not true. And I was like, you're lying to me. And I was like, gosh, lying. I mean, as a blue, he's so serious all the time. And as a yellow, I'm hardly ever serious.
Right.
And I had to even learn that, not to make light of things, not to joke around about things all the time because he did not like that. And
about that.
I had to learn the hard way a lot with Taylor. And but I loved him and I wanted to make that connection. And we did have a good relationship, but I always thought, I need to lean into him and not expect him to lean in towards me.
Which I think the leaning in came, but it was after I kind of wrestled with it by myself. And you were receptive to my responses, just tell me what I need to know initially.
Oh,
and
definitely.
And then once I had a hiccup, then I would come back to lean on you. But
yes.
you weren't stuck in your ways well, no, I will love him. And this is the way I loved Emily and Kelsey. So it has to be the same.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, I probably would have been driven away. I'm like, all right, I'm done now.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question because that takes a mutual respect for each other.
Yeah.
Because Taylor, the fact that you were so honest with mom and mom that you were able to hear it and not get your feelings hurt.
Well, believe me, I had been, and I talk about this a lot in Birds on a Wire. I learned when Taylor was very young, he was just different than y'all, and I did not understand him, period. So reading books on the temperaments and all that really helped me, and it sort of opened up my eyes. And even though your dad is a blue, I didn't know your dad when he was a toddler.
Right.
So Taylor was so sweet at the house, like really sweet. But then he was sort of quirky, like, like he didn't want you girls or anyone messing with his stuff. He'd be sitting there playing really good by himself, and y'all would come along and be like, I want to help. And he'd get mad. I mean, he'd just get so angry because y'all were messing up his stuff. And I was just like, what is going on? And then I started realizing, these are blue traits. And he's got it perfectly lined up, and they are messing with it. So I had to learn how to speak Taylor, how to relate to Taylor. So even though he didn't see it until his middle school, high school years, I had actually been working on it a long time. Just his need to be on time all the time. And we were just over Christmas watching the family movies. And did you see how young Taylor was in wearing a watch? I think he's like 4 years old at Hilton Head, and he's got on a watch. That's a year older than what Grayson is right now. And he was that aware of a watch.
Wow.
And he always wore a watch.
It's impressive. You're wearing a watch today?
I am.
Because, on time.
Yeah.
And a yellow's never on time.
Yep.
So I had to work on that.
Hey, moms. Big news. Registration for MomC Online, Karen's most popular study, is open again. From now through March 1st, you can sign up for this 6-week self-paced course that you can access anywhere at any time. No matter the age of your child, MomC Online will equip you to parent with confidence in a more peaceful home. When you register for MomC Online, you've got access to 6 sessions packed full of practical wisdom. In these sessions, Karen is going to teach on understanding your real purpose in motherhood, setting boundaries that bring freedom, managing your time so you can stop being so overwhelmed, understanding the personality temperaments and why they matter, using appropriate discipline at every age, and learning the secret to contentment in any circumstance. The best news about MomC Online is that it's all new. Karen has completely updated this classic course with brand new videos, which means you get the same timeless Karen wisdom, but styled for your 2024 sensibilities. Now, in addition to video lessons, MomC Online includes reflection questions, daily devotional readings, lock screen graphics for your phone, printables of Karen quotes, and a library of links to blog posts, podcast episodes, and resources for further learning. This course is a curated toolbox full of practical wisdom that you can return to time and time again. Because once you're enrolled, your content is available for you on demand anytime. Head to boew.mom/MomC Online. Enrollment is open now, and our first class drops March 1st. Once enrollment closes, you're not going to be able to jump in again until the fall. And I want you to parent with confidence in a more peaceful home today. So head to boew.mom/MomC Online and use coupon code WIRETALK for $5 off. That's WIRETALK. I hope you register. I'm taking it, and I know you are going to love it. All right, let's get back to the show.
Well, speaking about the blue personality, Taylor, what do you think, what strategies helped you, that mom helped you learn and as you grew up in high school to interact and try new things and navigate all those social dynamics that come with high school? What do you think helped you?
Just sorry. I'm looking at my phone with my notes. So if the mom's like, what is he doing? Is he texting? I'm not texting. I think confidence was key. I think confidence was instilling the confidence in me, knowing that I could do things and do hard things was really the biggest factor that started at a young age. I don't remember what she did necessarily at a young age, but as time grew on, showing me that I had the confidence and I could do things, that's what kind of opened the doors up and gave me the better attitude going into the schools, into with my friends that, hey, I'm not what is the word I'm looking for? I'm not useless. I'm not like a lonely nobody. I'm somebody. And that gave me the confidence to do and be, and honestly use my strengths of, my strength as a thoughtfulness and using that to help me with friends. Like, hey, your thoughtfulness, like use that to, people like me when they are recognized.
Yeah.
And so using that as a strength to help influence friends, not like in a way like manipulative, but more of just people want to be seen, people want to be heard. And so I kind of did that as at a young age, as middle school. Is like, I don't want to feel like anybody's, that they don't belong, because everyone belongs.
Right.
And so I think hopefully I did a good job with that. And then I used that to kind of gain confidence of like, once I saw people were receptive to like, hey, this guy thought about me. Then it was like, oh, okay, I have confidence. I do belong. I do matter. And that really played into that. And I guarantee if I didn't have the confidence, if I didn't have the confidence, I would not have gone as far. And then lastly, the recognizing my flaws, and working on them and being like, hey, this is what you need to do. I see this anger and this impatience, and you need to. Oh,
that's what I did with you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. You would see like, hey, these are your flaws. You need to do this. But that, I will say, was great. And I gained a lot of friends, gained a lot of influence. But I will say it was probably high school that I was being so nice to my friends and so nice to my people outside of my family. But I would come home and I boil all that up. Things that did annoy me, because your blue is going to be annoyed at things at school that are people who are doing. And I would come home and I would take it out on my mom, my sisters, because they would come home and ask me a question, and that would be the last straw. Like all day today, my friends would be doing all these things that would annoy me. And I'd be like, well, I got to be thoughtfulness. I got to have this persona. And then I get home and I just take it out on Abby or take it on Emily or my mom. And my mom would be like, why are you caring so much about what your friends think? But when your family's going to love you most.
Right.
And they're going to love you no matter what you do, but you're going to destroy the relationships if you continue to care more about what your friends think about you than what your family does. And that was a big wake-up call for me, because I was literally valuing what my friends thought and the status I had with them more than my family. And sadly, it probably hurt Abby and I's relationship the most, because I was hardest on her, which is the relationship I'm still trying to deal with today. So it's hard, all that to say. And those flaws will come back. And so if you do instill the confidence, make sure your son or daughter, whoever's the blue, is not also taking it out on their family, because that was a big red flag. And you recognize that. And sorry, I'm babbling on, but that's
that's
okay.
That's
It's
good.
really good.
And I remember one time I told you we were in the basement. I remember these conversations like where they happen.
That's amazing.
It's weird. It's weird. But I said, Taylor, if I have a bad day, is it right for me to take it out on you and yell at you? And he goes, no. And I said, okay, but that's what you're doing to me. And he said, oh. And that I think with the blue, getting them, and I learned this with your dad, getting them, if you could give them a word picture where they can sort of put themselves in that situation and get them to understand it from your perspective, that really goes a long way. Because once I sort of framed it up that way, Taylor got it. And he was like, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking out my bad day on you.
And I did.
Yeah. And 100%. He changed. Yeah. Or he started changing. I mean, it obviously changed.
Yeah. I mean, I still do it to Sarah. There's been bad days at the squadron. And then I kind of blow up at Sarah. She goes, are you in a bad mood? And then I'm like, no. And I am in a bad mood. So that's something that is still being worked on today. So I'm definitely not perfect by any means, but recognizing that at an earlier age definitely helped out. So,
yeah.
Well, Mom, you had me and Kelsey. Whoa, sorry, my microphone just attacked my throat. Mom, you dealt with me and Kelsey first with dating rules, and then Taylor came along.
Yeah.
So how did you switch your brain, or like did the rules? Well, they did change, but how did they change from girls dating in the house to Taylor dating in the house?
Well, luckily for me, Taylor he wasn't quick on the dating right away. He was sort of
Mr. Friend Zone, not necessarily Mr. Suave. So.
Yeah.
Taylor, me too. It's okay.
But that's it. That is okay, and it all, listen, he's married, he's getting ready to have a baby. Right. It all worked out. But so I didn't have to worry about it. He wasn't Mr. Casanova, kind of thing, wanting to like everybody. So he was very particular and slow at dating. But when he did start dating, obviously y'all's curfew was 11.
Yeah, she says that, y'all. It wasn't 11. It was 10.
No, it was 11. It was 11, 100%. No, it was 11.
Okay.
Okay. It was. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Maybe 10 was during the week. I don't know.
Okay, maybe it was. Whatever.
But
Moving on.
y'all's curfew was 11. So Taylor's curfew was 11:30 because I wanted him to have time to take the girl home and then come back. But it worked well for me because we live in the state of Georgia and teenagers cannot be on the road past midnight, no matter what. It's against the law until they hit 18. So, but honestly, I don't really remember any other rules that, do you? For dating?
No, I think Dad was more respectful. Just be like, here's how you should treat a woman and everything.
Yeah.
But that was about the extent of it. I don't think y'all necessarily saw any red flags like, hey, you need to watch this. If anything, it was like, you need to look at this trait this flaw you have, because this is going to come out in marriage if you don't tackle it now, which I'm sure there's one of the questions about that. But that was probably one of the things.
Yeah.
So
I do remember one time you had to go get the girl, you brought her up to the house, we did something, had dinner, watched movies, whatever, and then you're like, I got to take her back home. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, how else is she going to get home?
Yeah, well, that relationship didn't last. So
no, obviously no. But I'm just saying it was just funny as a blue that, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Okay, Mom, this question is for you.
All right.
In a family with two primary blues, which is Dad and Taylor, both of your boys, what practices keep your blue family members engaged in family activities?
Such a good question. I don't know who came up with this question, but it's such a good question. So with blues, what I've found, Taylor sort of hit on it earlier, is the space. You have to give your blues space. And that's hard because I'm a yellow and I don't want anybody to have space. I want everybody to be involved and everybody to be together all the time. But it's just crucial. And I can see your dad more than Taylor even wilt, like just start to fade. And then I have to be like, okay, we're going to take a break from family dinners and all that. Dad just needs a night to be by himself. And I mean, he's okay to be with me, but he just doesn't need all the extra, Kelsey called and she's like, what are we doing tonight for dinner? I said, nothing. Dad just needs a night by himself. So the key things for your blues are space and silence and support. And I just think those are the things you have to really keep in mind with them and make sure you're sort of putting that. They are very delicate creatures.
Well, let me put some pushback on that. And I'm not saying that those aren't important because they definitely are. But my husband is a blue. My dad is a blue. My brother is a blue. But where do you come out with that of like, how much space do you give them? How do you say, hey, do you give them a time frame? Do you take 15 minutes, 30 minutes and then come back? Because I mean, you can't just teach them that I get space and silence. So
okay, that's a great question. Let's talk about Taylor just as the son. Okay. So like when you girls would come in from school, y'all wanted to talk, tell me about your day and all that. You'd sit at the bar, you'd have your snack. Taylor didn't want any part of that. And at first I fought him on it. And I was like, sit here with everybody. We're having family time. This is important. And he's so angry. And so I would just say, fine. And so I let him go off and be by himself. 9 times out of 10, he'd get a snack. He'd go down to the basement. He'd watch SpongeBob. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Love SpongeBob.
And then after y'all were done with your snack, y'all were outside playing or doing your homework or whatever, he would emerge. And that's when he was ready to tell me about his day.
Okay.
But if I asked him right out of the gate, how was your day? That annoyed the heck out of him. He even told me, stop asking me how my day was. And I was like, okay.
I think, though, to answer your question about how much time is too much time, I'm not going to say every single time.
Right.
But a lot of the time as a blue, like whenever I come home from work and Sarah gives me my space, I say, hey, I just want to watch TV for a little bit and just decompress. A lot of times I will just naturally come back to the situation because Sarah's doing something, she's working, or she asks me a question and I'll come and answer that. And so Sarah doesn't ever really give me a time that says, hey, I'll give you 30 minutes. Because I mean, not even that, I'm like, that's needy. I don't like that. Don't give me a time. Now, I think if Sarah or my mom ever saw like, hey, you're spending too much time, I need you to come back, then I probably could see that and be like, oh, that's probably right. After I processed it.
I would say the same thing. Like, I don't think I ever put a time limit on
So
Taylor.
I guess my question is then, how did you cultivate that you can have your space, but you need to come back? Like, how did you create an environment that wanted Taylor to come back or wanted that blue to come back into to the to the craziness of the family.
Right.
I
Does
can
that
answer
make
that if you
sense?
want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mom would give me the structure or the plan of the day.
Okay.
Hey, when we get home from school or you get home from school, we're going out to eat with this person, or we have this dinner at this, or I need you to set the table at 5:30. That gives me the structure that I love to have and the planning. And again, the whole watch thing, I'm like, okay, I have this much time to decompress and I have to accept that. Now, if it changed or I got a little bit cut off short from that time frame that she gave me, I'd get a little mad, which is my flaw. But I think it was mainly like giving you deadlines and giving you the upfront of what it's going to be like.
Okay.
That I love that. I love whenever Sarah will tell me, hey, this is what I want to do, this and this day. I'm like, cool. I can plan for that and I can go forth and conquer. But
Yeah, and I remember one time we wanted to do a family movie night. Taylor he wasn't in the mood for it. So
Okay.
I just said, go on down to your room. Like, I'm cleaning up dinner. It's going to take us a while to pop the popcorn, get everything set. And then we are going to do a family movie night. So I need you to come back up at, say, 8 o'clock. And
Okay.
he was like, and whenever he came up, he was fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
He started off maybe in a little mood, but by the end, he was fine.
Okay.
So I would just say, like he said, the structure of it.
I think that's
Mhm.
very helpful.
Yeah.
It kind of gives the moms like a, space. You don't get to stay down there forever.
No.
Or,
Yeah,
you
no,
need
definitely
to
not.
come back. And I think that is helpful for the moms.
And
to
the
know.
Blues absolutely can hang out by themselves for a very long time.
mm-hmm.
And I do think we should give them freedom, but just not
Forever
all the
freedom.
time. Right.
I think you'd have a conversation with me, not to beat a dead horse.
Sure.
If I did start to linger too much downstairs or be alone in my thoughts, you'd just be like, hey, I see your need to want space, but
Yeah.
you have to, like, you can't always do that. Because
Yeah.
there are going to be times whenever you're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I respected that. Like, she's right.
Yeah.
I think that's very helpful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this question is for the both of you. What do you think is the best way for a mom to support her son during the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade? From 8th grade to 9th grade.
You want to go first? Or you want me to tell me?
You go first.
For me, just like a background for me, I was very well known in 8th grade. I was, I felt like I was a big man on campus. I was popular on campus. Again, that doesn't mean that home life was good because trust me, I was still taking things out on my sisters, which is not good. But I was popular in middle school and I thought I was the big man on campus. And then I went into 9th grade and I lost all my self-esteem. I lost all of that kind of charisma that I had. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, this is so weird. I'm now, you have all the people who are at different middle schools now coming into one big high school and no one really knows who you are. And that was kind of hard initially. I think I lost a lot of confidence. I didn't necessarily steer away from the path that I wanted to go, but it was something like, this is uneasy. And I think Mom kind of saw that, I guess, and just kind of kept that structure of like, maybe not veering too far away if I started to kind of get the wrong path. But I think you continuing to instill confidence in me led to a big thing because knowing that, hey, things are going to go awry of what you think it's going to happen. But as long as you keep to who you are, it's going to catch back up and it'll get better. And that's what happened. It just came with time and patience. And so I think as a mom teaching your son or daughter, whoever is a blue, like, hey, you're going to be humbled. It's going to be okay. But know that it's going to come with time. You're going to start building your friends back. You're going to build that confidence, but don't stray away from who you are just because things are uneasy. And because Blues, we hate non-structure. We hate last minute things. And we can be easily influenced if we don't have that structure or that confidence that's saying, no, I'm okay where I am. And as soon as I got past that, halfway through freshman year, I started gaining more friends. It all came back. So patience. So.
I think I just sort of told Taylor, like, you were the big man on the campus. Now you're going to be the little man on the campus. So just let him know, like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So that way he sort of knew. The other thing is in golf, he was a golfer. I realized that if he wanted to play on the high school team, we were going to have to give him more lessons to get his game up.
Okay.
Just because going from a middle school level to a high school level. And so your dad and I just decided to invest in more lessons for him. We drove him all the way over to Marietta to do that. But it was worth the investment because I thought this is an area that he is pretty good at and we could help him get better. He's not going to get better on his own. He's going to have the lessons. And the guy that we thought was good for the lessons was in Marietta. So we made that investment. So just realizing that takes time and, and just encouraged him along the way.
That's great.
It's kind of not not an easy thing to do. It's no cookie cut answer that I wish I could give the moms and be like, yeah, this is it. It just patience and confidence. That's a big thing for blues.
Well, I remember your first day of high school like it was yesterday.
You were probably so excited because you were
I was
a senior.
so excited. I was a senior. Taylor was a freshman. I remember my freshman year and Kelsey was a junior. Kelsey walked me into school and it was like the best thing ever. And so I drive in my Nissan Altima. Oh, this car was crap. It's fine though. And I pull in and I'm like, Taylor, I'm so excited. I mean, and I'm a morning person, okay? And I'm like, I'm so excited. We're going to walk into school together. It's going to be great. And Taylor goes, you can sit in the car for 5 minutes and I'm going to walk in by myself. And I was like, oh my goodness, are you serious? He goes, yeah, I don't want you walking me into school, Emily. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And
That's funny that you, the senior, sat in the car. I would say, I'm going now.
I had to lock the car.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. That's just what Taylor wanted to do. And I mean, I was like, okay, whatever.
Well, he did that same thing to Abby when she was the freshman and he was the senior.
But Taylor, you were a sweet.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're a sweet brother. Senior year, but this is sweet. Senior year, I was on homecoming court.
Yeah.
And homecoming court, when you're a senior, all the grade levels vote. And Taylor was part of the yearbook. And he told the entire freshman class to vote for me.
And you won?
And I won. So thanks.
Not
that I needed to win homecoming queen, but that was really sweet. So this goes back to your thoughtfulness. Even though you didn't want me to walk in with you, I understand. But you are my little bro forever.
I think it was the attention. I don't like the attention.
Yeah.
I can do things in the silent as a blue. Oh, sorry. I can do things in silent as a blue, but the attention of like walking with you, people seeing me, I'm like, I don't like that. I can cower in my corner, if you will.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. Well, Taylor, I love this question, and this is actually your last question for this episode. But how are you feeling about becoming a father? Do you have what are you excited about? What are you worried about? Any concerns? What's on your mind?
What's on your mind?
What's on your mind, man?
I'm really excited about Key West and having our baby there, just because it'd be kind of cool. It's a new experience and it's an adventure. That's one thing the Navy will always give you is a new experience.
For sure.
And we've moved 4 times in the past 7 years. And this is honestly our coolest location that we're going to be in. So that's going to be kind of cool, coming bringing our baby home and giving Sarah the chance to nest. So that's exciting. I'm excited to be a baby girl dad. I've always heard from girl dads that that's always a really special relationship. And I think the most thing I'm concerned with is this is humbling, but it's my frustration. Whenever Adeline is not doing what she needs to do, or when she's a baby and I can't fix it because I'm a perfectionist. And that is something that I recognized. And you've always pointed out to me, like, this is going to come out in marriage and this is going to come out when you're a dad later. And now I'm seeing like, oh my gosh, like now it's not just me that I'm influencing. It's now someone that I'm literally imprinting on. And I don't want her to have the negative qualities that I have. And now it's not like it's too late necessarily, but it could have been more refined now. And now I'm like playing catch up. I still want to be the best dad I can be, but we're all gonna have our flaws. But I'm more like, man, now it hits home more because it's like, wow, now I don't want her. If I see that, I'm like, ooh, that's a straight dagger to the heart of like, I just gave her that frustration. And my second thing is probably loving unconditionally. And that's something that has been big for Sarah and I. Because like loving Sarah, I'm always like, hey, if you do this and this right, then I'm going to love you unconditionally. But whenever she disagrees with me, I'm like, all right, fine, do it your way. And that's not loving her unconditionally. And I see that as more of a foreshadowing of what it can be like with Adeline, with if she's not doing what I want her to do, like, okay, you can do this. This path that you're on is going to go to instability, and you're going to fail. And so have fun with it, do whatever. And that's conditional love, because you have to do these things that I want you to do. Right. And that's not what Christ teaches us. And that is what my great mentor, Jerry Dolan, love the guy, and him and his wife told me, like, Taylor, you're not loving Sarah unconditionally like you said you were. And I was like, ooh, and that was really hard for me to see. And that is one of that transformation of that heart of like, this is what true unconditional love is. Like, you're disagreeing with me, but I'm still going to love you anyway. And I don't think that this can be a hard thing whenever Adeline's young, but when she gets older and she starts making more
her own decisions,
and that's going to be really, really hard, especially in those teenage years. So I'm already freaking out, but as a soon-to-be parent, so I can only imagine what the dads and the moms are figuring out as their teenage girls are growing up. Like, that's just Oh, I
Well, the
hate
good
that.
thing is God doesn't throw you into the teenage
That's right.
years.
He
You've got
doesn't.
years
That's right.
to prepare for it.
And the also good thing is you can't change who you are. I know you're very aware and you work towards it and you pray about it. I think that's wonderful. But God also gave Adeline another parent, and that's Sarah. So Sarah will balance you, hopefully. I mean, I think I helped balance your dad with y'all. I used to tell your dad when y'all were in elementary school, don't put so much pressure on these kids to make all A's, because they're doing a good job, and so God gives you a spouse to help you in that situation. Yeah. So,
and then, Mom, you always say that God chose you to be their mom.
Yes.
And Taylor, he chose you to be Adeline's dad, and you're going to be great at it. So moving on.
Okay, we're going to have a cry fest.
It's fine. Okay, Mom, you've been a grandmother to the daughters.
Yes.
So now with their kids, and now you get to be a grandmother to your son's kid. Is that?
No, your aunt.
So, Mom, how do you anticipate being different watching your son become a parent as opposed to your daughters becoming moms?
I don't know. Part of me thinks it's not going to be different, but then another part of me thinks it probably will, because
right down the middle, Mom.
I know, right?
Not this way, not this way. Somewhere in there.
Somewhere right there.
Because a lot of the time, whenever I'm with my grandchildren, I'm with you and Harper and Grayson, and Brian's not there.
Right.
Brian's working. He's off. But most of the time, I'm going to be with Sarah with the kids, and Taylor's going to be the one that's off. But I think the good news is Sarah and I have a very good relationship. We're very comfortable with each other. She's so easy to love.
She's so sweet.
I think I'm just going to have to be very aware that it is Sarah's first time being a mom. And just like I was with y'all, but y'all are my daughters. So I just want to always be aware to give Sarah the freedom to make her own choices and not to go against her, because I can be opinionated. You know that. And I can be opinionated with my daughters and they accept it. But that's going to look different with my daughter-in-law. And I don't ever want to offend her, or like if I say something that you don't agree with, you are confident enough in our relationship that, Mom, I don't agree with that. And I'm like, okay, tell me why. But I don't want to just assume it's going to be like that with Sarah and I. So I want to wade in, just being very aware that she's my daughter-in-law, and I need to respect her wishes and her way she does things. And if Taylor's not there, like my son, he might push back and be like, no, Mom, we don't agree with that, blah, 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 blah. We would have that conversation. Sarah won't have that conversation because she's not like Taylor. She's not, she won't tell you. Yeah. So I just need to be very aware and sensitive to that. Does that make sense?
I think that's
so
great.
That's my main thing, that I just pray that I stay in my lane. I always tell moms all the time, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. Well, I need to follow my own advice.
That's right.
And stay in my lane. I'm the grandmother. I'm not the parent. I've already raised my children. I don't have to raise Adeline. And she's got great parents, and they're going to do a phenomenal job. And I need to support Sarah in everything that she does do.
Yeah. Well, Mom, in everything with Wire Talk, you always love to give practical advice that is helpful for the moms.
Yes.
So what is one practical advice that you can hand these moms that have boys, that are raising these boys? What would you say to them to encourage them as they move on in whatever season they are in?
Just to love and accept your son for the way God wired them. And whether they're like you, whether they're different from you, to be the student of your child, and to realize they're not yours to own. You are the guardian of them, and you have 18 years, but that doesn't mean after 18 years, they're going to be gone forever and you're never going to have a relationship with them. That's not true. Taylor's 29 years old. We just had a 3-day trip together in a car, had a fabulous time. So it's not over at 18 years, but just realize, let them grow and become their own person,
That's great.
and just be their friend whenever they become an adult.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. And if you guys made it this long, we appreciate it because it was really long, but it was also really good.
It was really good.
And I think the moms are really going to appreciate it and love it and bookmark this episode. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Taylor, for coming on.
Yes,
and joining
thank
Wire
you,
Talk.
sharing your
Appreciate
heart.
it.
It's so fun. And
Hit me up in Key West if you are down there.
There you go.
Don't worry, they probably will. Well, wherever you're listening wherever you are listening to this podcast, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe so more moms can be reached through Birds on a Wire. And just remember, we cannot have this podcast without you. So if you have any questions, please send them to info@birdsonawiremoms.com and keep a lookout for the upcoming episodes to see if we answered your questions soon. Thank you. See you next week.